Welcome to the Pencil Bob channel. I hope you enjoy my stories. Please like and subscribe, and hit that notification icon so you never miss out. Now on with the stories.
I'm looking for some opinions on my situation because I'm feeling pretty frustrated and could use some perspective. Here's the deal. I'm having some work done on my house, and the contractors have been parking on the street. There's no parking close by, and they need their vehicle nearby for their tools and equipment. This has been going on for about 3 weeks, and yesterday was supposed to be the final day of work. Everything was going smoothly until, within about 20 minutes of them starting, the predatory towing company, our HOA, has a contract with, swooped in and towed the clearly marked work van. When my wife called the towing company, they said it was an HOA member who called them to have it towed. When she tried to get more information, they started screaming at her, which is apparently normal behavior for this company. Let me tell you, anyone yelling at my wife sets me off, and I was livid. So, I shot off a message to our HOA president. Now, he's a real piece of work, and I have no doubt it was him who called the towing company. Nobody else on the HOA board would be petty enough to care. The president responded with a smug comment, "You can't have friends parking in front of your house." I tried to explain that it was a contractor with a clearly marked vehicle, but he just came back with, "Follow the rules, and there won't be a problem." The whole interaction was infuriating. Now, let me be clear. I'm not losing sleep over the $200 towing fee. What really grinds my gears is the asshole HOA president and his power trip. This guy needs to be taken down a notch. But maybe I'm being unreasonable? If I am, I'll admit it and move on. But seriously, if this guy is going to tow every contractor vehicle because he's following the HOA rules to the letter, nobody in the neighborhood will be able to get work done on their houses without risking their vehicles being towed. So, I decided to dig a little deeper. I spoke to a person from the property management company about the situation. He provided the exact wording of the parking rules, and guess what? There's nothing in there about contractors parking on the street. He even admitted he hasn't seen any other community he manages that doesn't have an exception for contractors. When I asked if any contractor vehicle parked on the street could be towed, he begrudgingly said yes. He then added, "Please don't have the landscape company vehicles towed." I just thanked him for clarifying and wished him a nice day. Feeling even more annoyed, I took to our Nextdoor community app to let others know what was going on. Turns out, I'm not alone in my frustration. I quickly gained a following of neighbors who are also fed up with the current HOA board. They shared their stories, and it seems like the new board is targeting certain people, mostly folks of color or those who are LGBTQIA+. One neighbor even spoke to the supervisor of the guy the first talked to from the management company, and it appears the higher-ups aren't happy about the situation either. There's an HOA meeting in January, and you better believe I'll be there. At the very least, I want to push for an update to the parking rules to include contractors. If the HOA is going to enforce these rules, they need to make sense and be fair for everyone. A little background on our HOA president. This guy has been on a power trip ever since he got elected. He's the kind of person who thrives on control and loves making other people's lives difficult. I remember when he first got elected, he went on this rampage about lawn decorations. He sent letters to people about the color of their flowers, the height of their grass, and even the types of bird feeders they used. I wish I were joking. The thing is, I've never had a problem with following rules as long as they're reasonable. But this guy takes it to another level. It's like he enjoys finding ways to make simple things complicated. My wife and I moved to this neighborhood because it seemed like a nice, quiet place to raise our kids. We didn't sign up for a constant battle with an HOA president who acts like a dictator. One of my neighbors, Sarah, told me she had a similar run-in with the towing company. Her son had just gotten his first car, and he parked it on the street because their driveway was being repaved. Within an hour, the car was gone. When she called the towing company, they said it was the HOA president who had called them. Sarah was furious and confronted him at the next HOA meeting, but he just shrugged and said, "Rules are rules." Another neighbor, Dave, who lives a few houses down, had his basketball hoop removed from his driveway because the HOA president said it was a safety hazard. Dave's kids were devastated, and when he tried to get an explanation, he got the same smug response about following the rules. It's stories like these that make me realize this isn't just about me or my contractors. It's about a pattern of behavior that's making our neighborhood a less enjoyable place to live. I've heard from older residents who feel targeted because they can't keep up with the president's ever-changing demands. One elderly couple was fined because their mailbox wasn't up to standard, whatever that means. The more I hear, the more I think something needs to change. We need to stand up to this guy and remind him that he's supposed to be working for us, not against us. The HOA is there to maintain and improve the community, not to bully residents. I've started talking to more of my neighbors about attending the January meeting. We need to show a united front and demand that the rules be clear, reasonable, and fairly enforced. If we can get enough people to attend and speak out, maybe we can get some changes made. At the very least, we can let the HOA board know that we're not going to stand for this kind of behavior anymore. In the meantime, I'm keeping a close eye on any other incidents. If the towing company or the HOA president steps out of line again, I'll be ready. I've started documenting everything, including the interactions I've had with the property management company and the stories from my neighbors. If we need to, we can take this to a higher authority or even consider legal action. It's frustrating to think that something as simple as getting work done on your house can turn into such a hassle because of one power-hungry person. But I'm hopeful that with enough support from the community, we can make some positive changes. I'll keep everyone updated on what happens at the January meeting and any developments in the meantime. Thank you to everyone who has shared their stories and offered support. It's good to know I'm not alone in this, and together, I believe we can make a difference. Make sure to thoroughly read your community covenants and restrictions. In my case, the rules explicitly state that parking is only permitted for commercial vehicles actively engaged in completing a job. This means that personal or non-commercial vehicles cannot be parked in certain areas, likely to maintain order and appearance within the community. It's possible that your HOA president may have overstepped his authority, perhaps assuming that residents are not fully aware of these regulations. Understanding the specific rules outlined in your covenants is crucial, as it ensures that you can address any potential overreach or misinterpretation by the HOA leadership effectively. Always refer back to the written guidelines to clarify any disputes or questions regarding what is and isn't allowed in terms of parking and other community policies. The good news is, if an insurance company has to defend a lawsuit against an HOA that acted outside the terms of the covenants, they will most likely cancel the policy. And then all of the homeowners are screwed. It would seem that he would need to be sent a cease and desist letter from an attorney with the additional threat of legal action to sue not only him personally for the infraction but also for the increase in premium that would ensue after the insurance carrier drops them from the policy. The requested action to prevent the case being filed is to reimburse the homeowner and step down as president. I mean, what you need to do is call the towing company every single time you see a contractor truck, or a visitor car, or whatever, until the president clarifies his bullshit policy. When the neighbors complain, explain they just need to follow the rules. Refer them to HOA asshole. I would be taking laps around the HOA for very 2 hours and be on a first-name basis with the 3 worst towing companies in the area. Or also call the HOA president and request he call me when, if you can't do it yourself. Ask him why you were so glued out if he refuses. Log the time and date of all calls with notes. If he complains about harassment, is it part of his president HOA job to manage parking problems when reporting? Well, you're reporting them. Or is he the only one who does it when it annoys him? Today, my blood is boiling. We received a notice and a hefty $90 fine for parking on the street during the day. And get this. Everyone in our neighborhood does it without a problem. The notice claimed they assigned the violation on the 10th, and if not corrected by the 20th, we'd receive the fine. But guess what? The notice arrived via email on the 25th. Talk about shady timing. To add insult to injury, They cited sections 3.16 and 3.17 of the bylaws as the reason for the violation. The only issue is, those sections don't even exist in the handbook. Are they making up rules as they go along? I couldn't believe it. It felt like a slap in the face. Not only were they trying to penalize us for something everyone does, but they were doing it unfairly and unjustly. I delved into the bylaws, scouring every page, but I couldn't find any mention of sections 3.16 or 3.17. It was as if they were pulling these rules out of thin air just to make our lives miserable. What really got under my skin was the fact that they could ban us from parking on the street in front of our own homes during the day. How could they have the audacity to dictate where we can and cannot park on public property? It's infuriating and feels like a blatant abuse of power. This HOA is supposed to be looking out for the community's best interests, but it seems like they're more interested in lining their pockets with fines than anything else.
My HOA says my house should be 4 colors.
I want to paint it hot pink now.
Painting a house is always an exciting project, and I recently took on the task of sprucing up our home. After careful consideration, I decided on 2 different shades of black for the eaves and secondary color while keeping the body of the house white. I thought the contrast would look striking.
However, despite the colors being approved initially, some feedback came in that the black shades were too similar, which was surprising since I'd followed the guidelines.
Now faced with this unexpected criticism, I'm contemplating adding a bold twist by painting the eaves hot pink.
My reasoning is that it would provide a vibrant pop of color and create 4 distinct color zones on the house. However, there's a bit of pushback, as some are insisting that the only color that should match the neighborhood houses is the accent pieces, which my current colors already comply with. I must admit, I'm a bit annoyed by the feedback.
I genuinely believe the house looks beautiful the way it's painted.
But if there's insistence on conformity or what I perceive as nitpicking, then perhaps a splash of hot pink will satisfy both my desire for uniqueness and the need to adhere to the neighborhood aesthetic.
The process of choosing and applying paint is more intricate than I imagined. Each color choice affects the overall look and feel of the house, and I had put a lot of thought into creating a visually appealing palette.
It's disappointing to receive criticism after the fact, especially when the colors were initially approved. However, I'm also open to considering different perspectives and making adjustments if necessary.
I would like to thank you for watching the video to the end. To encourage us to make more videos, please like, subscribe, comment, as well as share. Check out this other video if you haven't already.